Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson and this is the Warm Down Podcast, and as always for July my content is sponsored by the One Football app. This is the place where you can go for all of your news, whether you're following Manchester United or you're looking for all of the news around the world. We've got it all, so you can check out what is going on in the world of football. We're also covering all the transfers in the transfer section as well, so check out the transfer section, and this gives us a list of all of the different deals that's going on, gives you a bit of a source about them as well. So Jose Reina there going for Manchester City. You've got what else is going on here? Let's have a look at these. Aguero and Danilo going to Chelsea. They could happen. Ander Herrera looking at a contract extension at Manchester United. Now, that's something I definitely want to see. So I think we'll give a nice big smiley face on that one, I think. All of the stuff that's going on with transfers, all of the news, you can find that in the One Football app. And there's also matches happening right now as well. So you can go into the Match Day Centre and see what's going on with all the matches. Obviously, Manchester United have recently played. You got Dortmund played against Milan. You can see the scores there. Aubameyang just been linked with a move to Chelsea. Using all of the stuff that's going on in here, United last night played against Real Salt Lake. We can see the scorers from there. They've not got all the stats in here just yet because it's pre-season friendlies, but come the season, tons of information in here as well. This is a fantastic app. Make sure you get it and find out what's going on. Look at all these games coming up, man. You've got Bayern Munich and Arsenal. International Champions Trophy's always stacked, isn't it? Roma and Paris. We've got City and United this Friday. Munich and AC Milan. I mean, who've built a new squad, let's face it. This is an absolutely banging app. Make sure you get it on notifications, find out what's going on. I mean, I've got it on notifications personally. Every time a bit of news comes out, it's one of the first out there. It often beats the Sky Sports app. So make sure you download it and let me know in the comments what you're thinking, because I'm really enjoying using this app. Today's guest is Laurence McKenna from the True Geordie podcast. So let's get straight into that and we'll see what he's got to say for himself. Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson. This is the Warm Down. Today I'm delighted to be joined by this guy. It's Mr. Laurence McKenna, the guy that's been so kind to have True Geordie on his podcast with him and allow a young northerner to really blow up and get some numbers. Loz, how you doing, mate?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm absolutely magic, mate. Loving the nice hot weather at the moment. How about you?
It's pretty warm in London. You know what I really like doing sometimes? I don't know why. I just like checking out the weather in Europe, and it just makes me jealous of everywhere else. But London's all right. It's just getting pretty. It gets cloudy in the evening, and then every now and again we get a good storm, and I like a storm. Everywhere
I go, I seem to have kept on my iPhone during that left-hand side when you go for fingers. I was just looking. Sophia's like in the 30s today. It's like, damn, that's nice and warm. It's not that warm here. It's just
Paris
nice.
Is 30. That's the thing. When you're in London, you feel like Paris is so close.
It is close, isn't it? Have you ever done it on the train just to jib over?
You know what? There was one day, I've done it twice now, where we just took a day off work and just took a train to Paris, and then took first train to Paris and last one back.
How much is it? Is it dear?
No, actually, if you do like you can get emails, so you sign up for emails. They'll email you, and it can be like 60 quid.
See, that's mega. I mean, it's 80 quid for me to come to London. The cheapest I can get it is 80 quid. So
all you need to do, stay in London and then just go to Paris. It's much better than going Manchester to London. It's much less disappointing when you get off the train.
Yeah, but this is the greatest city on earth.
Sorry, are you in London right now?
No. This right here is the greatest city on earth.
I understand.
What other city brought you Take That, the Industrial Revolution, and Manchester United? And ecstasy, allegedly.
Did you guys really invent ecstasy?
I don't think so, no. I think we just really liked it. We did invent Vimto though, and you can't argue with that.
I wouldn't be surprised if you did, because we've had so many guests on the podcast where it's been like, oh, we took a lot of ecstasy, we did a lot of pills, and we were like, where was this? And they were like, oh, Manchester.
I think the whole rave culture, these people absolutely flipping out watching this going, fuck, this is a fucking football podcast. There's the whole rave culture around the Hacienda and everything like that. That really was nightclubbing as we kind of knew it, although I don't know if I'm just getting older, if nightclub culture's really just died, you know.
Nightclub culture's dead, although where I live it seems alive, but just in a very different way. Do you not think that nightclub culture penetrates United in some way though? Like if you're on the terrace and you've sort of, you're a party boy, it means you can go for the full 90.
Maybe.
You know what? There's a documentary now. That's all I'm saying. There's something in that where
football
you can
and music.
Hacienda, Stretford End.
They tried with the Class of 92 documentary to link in the regeneration of Manchester in the 90s with New Labour, with the Hacienda and with the Class of 92. That was a really tedious link, I thought. But I could see what they was aiming for.
To be honest, it depends how you do it. I think it was a little bit laboured in that documentary. It was a bit like they saw the connection, but it wasn't that they found the connection. It was that they thought they saw it and wanted to make it like that. Whereas actually, like, New Labour's a little bit lame now, isn't it? Not from a political standpoint, but just from like a fashion standpoint.
Yeah. Whereas Manchester was a fucking kicking place. I mean, I was a teenager, but it was a kicking place, and it was going to Old Trafford and the vibe of watching all these young lads just absolutely tear the world to pieces on a football pitch. I mean, that was what Danny Boyle was saying in the documentary himself,
Yeah.
but there was elements of that actually really, truly happening as well at the same time. There might be a link. There might certainly be a link between the Hacienda and Manchester United, but the Hacienda closed mid-90s, like 95, 96, 97, something along those lines, I think. So Manchester United really started peaking after that. So it's a tedious link at best, I think. Those
boys still exist, though. You don't just forget the Hacienda once you've been there. So I'm told I was like 8 when it shut away.
Yeah, I was 14. I never went.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been in it since it's been an apartment complex, and I just missed out on the chance to. They put like reunion raves on, and reunion raves are in the car park of now what is the apartment block, which is again trying hard.
A little bit try hard. You know what I mean? I feel like actually what is really good about Manchester is it's got that completely. No one seems to be trying in Manchester. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a like it's a completely. Manchester strikes me as an effortless place, and Manchester United is always its best when it looks effortless, even if it isn't.
I think that's Mancunians, isn't it? We like to think that we don't care, despite really caring.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's only really ever embodied in the United side. No offense to City fans, but that effortless swagger is only ever really embodied in the United side.
Oasis had it, although Oasis was famously a City band, but actually the founder members are split United and City, like most of the City. But the Gallaghers definitely had it, and have got it still, I think. Maybe they're
and I mean, like every good thing that comes from Manchester, there's a huge part of inspiration from Liverpool. If you thought people were angry in the comments before, you just wait.
Yeah, so if you didn't know, because you don't actually really publicise it that blatantly, do you? You are...
Not really.
A fucking Scouser.
Yeah. Who's got a problem with it? You know what? Now, I've said this quite a lot. Like, I think you should always appreciate your... As a kid, I hated Manchester United. Like, the kids in school were wankers who were Manchester... Can I swear? Yeah. The kids in school were absolute wankers who supported Manchester United. And to be honest, what the problem with them was, I lived in Burton, which was like, not ages away from Manchester, but Birmingham's closer, Sheffield's arguably easier and more accessible than Manchester. And all these kids supported Manchester United. And I remember even there was one kid who was a Manchester United fan for years. And then he told me one day, I'm going to switch to Arsenal. And I remember, I just remember being like, that is a typical United fan. But as I got to know more United fans as I got older, I don't know, there's this new appreciation for him. I've been to Old Trafford quite a lot recently. I went quite a lot over the last 2 seasons. And people always said to me, like, Anfield's one atmosphere, but Old Trafford's another. And I never really got it because I've never really been to Old Trafford apart from on, like a tour of the stadium or working there for media stuff. And then when we got there one day and I went to, first of all, it was David Beckham's UNICEF
the UNICEF thing, yeah.
Which was a great day. Like, to pack a stadium out for that, first of all, shows your fan base. But also, I think what most people don't realise and what they think about Old Trafford is they think about the architecture. The actual people who run Old Trafford, like the little old ladies who give you the tea, the girls who serve you the drinks, the guys who do the pies, the guys who do the magazines, all these sorts of things. That's what makes Old Trafford good. And everyone, because what you get on Copper 90 and what you get on, Football Republic and all the big channels who are good, they give you that shot. What's that row of houses that leads up to Old Trafford where they sell all the matchday stuff?
It was Warwick Road. It's now St Busby Way.
So everyone does that Osmo shot, which is like the steady shot going towards Old Trafford. It's like, look at the houses just outside Old Trafford. But they never seem to capture the atmosphere of that. And that is the bit that gets you excited about Old Trafford when you go outside Old Trafford. It's that and that little bridge which leads over to where Sir Alex Ferguson's statue is.
The bridge on the North Stand side is the metal bridge, if you like.
And I'm not joking. That when I think about that gives me goosebumps as a Liverpool fan. on my neck. Not because I think, oh, it's a magical place, but because it makes me excited. And I think that without a competitive United and without a competitive Liverpool, it doesn't get me half as excited for those games. And I've been to that stadium a number of times, and I actually enjoy feeling threatened by those United. Not directly, but like the actual animosity towards it is great. Second to none. I've never been to another stadium which has that animosity, and I love it. It's brilliant.
Football without animosity is fucking bland. There's a lot of it you see online at the moment that you can't criticise. Like, obviously, I love nothing better than fucking tearing into Gerrard for not winning the league and things along those lines. The amount of replies that you get are like, the guy's a legend though, and you're like, what? Like, don't criticise him. He's won. You know, he was amazing, and you're like, are you fucking serious right now? Like, are you actually genuinely serious? I can't imagine people that write that kind of thing have ever been to a football game, and that's not bashing people that are foreign fans, because you can still fucking go and check out local football, and anyone who is a foreign fan, I would urge to go and watch local football. I mean, this is coming out Tuesday. Tonight, I'm going watching fucking TNS because it's a Champions League game. I will go and watch fucking anyone because I love fucking football, and football live is amazing. I've got zero connection to TNS. I couldn't tell you who plays for them or even what fucking colour they play in. I don't even know how to pronounce the name of the team that they're playing against.
Well, it's TNS, mate. TNS versus...
It's Rijeka or some shit like that, Croatian champions. However...
You and Dave have got so much in common.
Who gives a fuck? I mean, it's just football, and it's the opportunity to go... On Wednesday night, I'm going watching the under-23s against Salford at the newly redeveloped Salford Stadium, Park Lane. Like, this is turf... whatever the fuck it's called. I can't remember the fucking name of the place. I've only been there like twice. That's what it's all about for me, is that live football. And it can happen at Old Trafford as easy as it can fucking happen on a Tuesday night in Shrewsbury. Did you know they played in England?
Shrewsbury play in England?
No. TNS play near Shrewsbury in England.
Really?
See?
There you go.
Which brings up a potential Swansea could win the Premier League. Shrewsbury, fucking TNS, whatever the fuck they're called, could draw them in a Champions League match and have the champions of England from Wales playing in Wales against the champions of Wales who play in England. What the fuck?
You can give it a go. I mean, to be honest, I'm looking forward to the day when an actual Welsh team does challenge for something.
I don't think they're going to do it via the Welsh Premier League. It'll be Swansea or Cardiff via the English tier, I think.
I genuinely hope Swansea keeps Gylfi Sigurdsson, but I don't. I think they'll struggle.
He, for me, was one of the players that I always used to say was fucking super underrated. No longer, if Everton are willing to spend 50 million on him. Or Swansea are after 50 million for the guy. Good footballer, though. Good football.
Great football. I mean, I mean, he's still not the completing piece, but he is a sort of Coutinho-esque player. Do you know what I mean? But I don't mean he plays in a similar style or anything like that. I just mean he's a Coutinho-esque player that Everton, I think, would enjoy having against someone like Liverpool.
If you're the average Premier League team and you're lacking that little bit of magic, that little bit of quality in the final third, buying Sigurdsson literally just fucking delivers that for you, I think.
Sorry, can you hear that?
I heard something. Okay,
good. I'm glad that cuts that out. No, it is actually the gym just outside my house. They just love Rihanna work. And you're just like, you guys are so basic.
I can actually hear it a bit. Hopefully it doesn't come through and we get a copyright pull for fucking Rihanna.
All right, he's turned it down a bit. I think he heard me.
Go threaten him. We need to talk about your... I can't talk about your fucking crazy ex-housemate, can I? But, you know, whatever.
That's all done now, to be honest. There's nothing else to talk. I mean, to be honest, the exclusive sits on True Geordie podcast. But I moved into a new place now, so there's not really much else to be said. Like it all like looking back now, that all seems like such a storm in a teacup, and I feel a bit like an idiot for making it such a big thing. But it was a real, like, what it was for me was like a real point of comedy at the time. It was like this sort of, Brian found it hilarious, I found it quite funny, and I think everyone else in my life was just like, Jesus, just move out of that place. In the end, I did. So, you know, it is what it is. Like, to be honest, I don't really think about it anymore. You know, I've moved out of a number of places in London, and there's a lot of people who message me and they're like, "Oh, I couldn't live like that." It didn't really bother me. Like, it didn't really bother me. It was just more annoying at the time than anything else.
I've never had, apart from when I lived in, obviously, mixed accommodation when I was in the army, I've never lived with anybody That wasn't like my family or my wife, really. I don't know how I would cope with
Same thing.
a random housemate.
It was a little bit unnerving, but I never really thought about it like that. I think a lot of people who live with family or sort of have only lived there, when you live in London, it's just not something you think about because everyone lives that way. Do you know what I mean? So you just go, oh yeah, of course. Well, why wouldn't you move in with complete strangers? And you're like, yeah, of course. But London, I think that's why a lot of people go crazy in London, to be honest.
Well, yeah, because it's just that, even if it's a 1% bit of stress, just that little...
Genuinely, I think a lot of people get very, very stressed.
Anyway,
put it this way, it stressed him out more than it stressed me out, and that's what I, looking back, quite enjoy about it.
Let's keep it back on the football, because it is the warm down, not the regular podcast where we can just go completely bananas. The warm down, at least attempts to try and talk about football. So, as we said earlier, Loz is a Liverpool fan. How do you think you're shaping up for next season?
You know, you don't exist in the Liverpool Twitter bubble, do you? How many tweets a day do you see about Naby Keita and Virgil van Dijk?
None about Van Dijk, but I'm seeing a few about Keita.
Okay, so Keita, I see a fair few emails per day, and I see a fair few tweets, and I see a fair few messages, all sorts of things about both. I can't tell how much. Keita seems closer. Van Dijk seems like a long shot to me because I think it would be a lot of backpedaling. I think both these transfers are going to take Liverpool pushing them through.
Both would level you up, but I think you need more periphery players. I think you need a bigger amount of depth. I think challenging in Europe on top of what you was doing in the league, especially with the style of play that Klopp likes to deploy, I think you need freshness. I think
depth is the name of the game. No, depth is the name of the game for Liverpool. It's not even really. I mean, it obviously is about quality, and Virgil van Dijk and Keita will both be quality players.
I mean, you level up your defence, you level up your midfield.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not. I was chatting about this in another podcast, sort of another podcast the other day. You know, if you get Van Dijk, you know, you're going to pair him with Matip, you're going to pair him with Lovren. It's frustrating to get rid of Saka and then pay double almost for the other. It's that frustrating side that I think a lot of people don't really like. So, yeah, I'd like to get both. I think we'll get one.
I've just had a message off Paul because I was meant to do Paul earlier today. And I didn't get up. Machin, yeah, he's just texted me saying dead to me. Just as we were talking about Liverpool, I just thought that was quite apt, so I'm leaving that in.
Good man. Good Paul. Go fuck yourself.
We will get Paul on soon though, because I do like talking to Paul, even though he is comically scouse.
Paul, you know what, and you know what I really love about Paul is there was a lot of years where Paul and I would sit in the office and we'd chat and we'd sort of have good chats, and a lot of those good chats would happen off camera. And Paul has produced so much content down the years, and I mean, like, he's been like, you know, content, putting out hours of content every week, or at least producing that. And it's just now when he's doing the sort of mate thing that you sort of see someone who's, you know, that 10,000 hour idea, not to patronise him, but I think you see this with every YouTuber. You see it with Brian, you see it with anyone who's been in YouTube for quite a long time. You see them hit their stride and you see them just able to talk. And there's something quite satisfying about that. I see it in United fans as much as I do in Liverpool fans.
Yeah, I like Paul. Redmond's an excellent little setup, despite the fact that it's focused on Liverpool. But yeah. I mean, I enjoy going down and seeing the guys there. I love his little fucking retro gaming studio that he's got in there as well. It's awesome. Check out.
I've not been invited, so
one day, my son,
dead to me.
You will get there.
Dead
you will get there. I think Geordie's been up in there. Did he not tag you along? Yeah, I thought you went everywhere together.
Yeah, this is what everyone seems to weirdly think is like, I said this to Chatmate the other day, like, I am a functioning human being without Brian. I did exist before Brian existed.
No, you didn't. Why are you lying?
Yeah, I know, that's exactly, I mean, it's the same as you with Full-Time Devils. It's like, were you even a person before, Full-Time Devils existed?
No. Me and Devils existed at the same time because I created them despite the fact that it was around about a year before me coming on. It was just my genius that I would allow it to run for a year before I even decided to come on it myself. And I was nothing and didn't even go to United games apparently prior to working with Devils.
Have you seen? I mean, what do you think of other United accounts?
For the most part, absolutely sound, and I try and be friends with everybody that I chat to. Stretty News and Football Terrace and United Before Fergie and all these guys. Like the community should and does for the most part support itself, and the fact that I'm fucking talking to Paul to do some content with Paul. I mean, It's a Liverpool channel. By rights, should probably be fucking enemies because United and Liverpool hate each other. That means the channels should hate each other and never work together. But we get good content when we collaborate with them. They get good content when they collaborate with us. And I think collaborations is the name of YouTube.
Doesn't that go back to, though, like, if United, like a few years ago when United first dropped away, I know they never really dropped out the top, whatever. But when United first dropped away, there was a real sort of sense of loss, I think, in the Liverpool community.
As that was the thing to constantly look at, aim at, ridicule.
Well, initially I think there was like a sense of schadenfreude because it was like, yes, now you see what it's like to, drop off the top or whatever. And for a short while there was a sense of that. I think there was a real fear of that amongst a lot of United fans that, they couldn't give the banter back because
We're not out the woods.
No, but I mean, it's a new era now at United. You can't have Lukaku, Pogba, those guys, and not say that that's a stronger United team. That this is a different, this is almost a Fergie-esque reinvention of United, image-wise.
We've done all right, I think, to Moyes aside. We've done all right to maintain a level of competitiveness, Moyes aside. We've picked up a few trophies under Van Gaal, under Mourinho. But
do you really care?
So
Can I just ask you? Do you really care about those trophies?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
There's two trophies I care about. You know the ones.
Premier League and the Champions League.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the World Cup.
No.
Good. You and I are in the same. You know what, Howson? You and I are very much in the same boat. And Liverpool haven't won the Premier League ever.
I like watching the World Cup. I don't give a flying fuck who wins it.
Yeah, that's part of it. Is I think a lot of people seem to think I care more about winning the World Cup than the actual World Cup itself. There's also this idea, I think, that I don't know about you, but I think English and especially some European clubs have looked at, this is my analysis, basketball as a system and thought, this is how we're going to market our players. And the two best teams that have done that, I think Liverpool have looked at baseball. You can definitely see Liverpool as a run like an MLB team. And I think Manchester United and Man City are being run like basketball teams. They have a spine of players who buy into the project and the rest are rotatable. And as soon as you cultivate that as a business model and as an idea, and you get the fans on board with that, I think it makes your business not Teflon, but it'll make it more more easy to sell and more easy to stay on board with. Sorry, that's the bullshit police coming for me. So, Man City have got Sterling. Arguably, they've got Leroy Sané, who's like a kind of a rookie point guard who's come through and wants to run things. You've got someone like either of the Silvers, whoever you want to pick. John Stones at the back, who will soon be complemented by someone like Walker. And then in goal, you could arguably say who's kind of your, the equivalent of a great defensive centre, maybe. We'll see how Edison comes out. And then at Manchester United, you've obviously got David De Gea, Eric Bailly, Paul Pogba, and Lukaku. And that's the equivalent of your, LeBron James, D Wade, Chris Bosh, if you want, and maybe someone else who's going to step in there.
You could have made names up then. Apart from LeBron James, you could have just said and David Davidson and John Johnson, and I'd have been like, oh yeah.
David Davidson has been a fantastic basketball player for years now, and also a really key negotiator in the Northern Irish peace process. But the point is that the point still stands. You get what I mean? And Ian Ianson. You get my point though that actually these business models and the marketing of those players has learned a lot from American sports.
Well, you've got owners that are involved in American sports. Basketball,
so do you,
Red
mate.
Sox, isn't it?
Well, they were.
I think Glazers still are with the American football franchise, but they've run that shit into the ground. Tampa Bay.
Didn't they?
But
and didn't they have the Orlando Pirates at one time as well?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay. But I think they did. They had something like that. I know they had the Tampa Bay. I mean, no one really. I don't really know that much about NFL. But you still know what I mean. I think there's a lot of people who have looked at that model of marketing and see that as very similar. And that's why Pogba was announced in the way that he was. That's why Lukaku has been brought out in the way that he has. You know,
we couldn't announce
United
anybody as good as we did
club.
Pogba. It was so perfect. From picking him up at the airport in a Chevrolet, to the whole
video,
Stormzy thing, the blah blah blah, the actual music video. It was fucking brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant, and I don't think it can be topped.
You guys don't really. I mean, you maybe as a fan understand the marketing side of that because you're part of that mechanic every day. But I don't think a lot of fans from the outside knew maybe the amount of fingers that a brand like Adidas would have on that. Do you know what I mean? And these sort of Adidas fingerprints all over that.
I was sat in the. I've mentioned it on here a few times. Like, I was sat in the fucking bar as the deal was finished. And at the time, there was a woman that was head to toe in Adidas stuff. Who was obviously a rep from Adidas, and they was talking to Lukaku at the time a year ago. He's just come out this tour since he signed for United wearing Adidas boots, and it makes you go, "Fuck me!" How much of this was put into place the night Pogba was being signed, and it was the Adidas woman that was telling him to go on stuff. So he threw a tweet out to Juventus saying thanks, and then he was literally standing 12 feet from me. And his woman, 5'2" woman, just telling him, "Yep, go on that one." And he's throwing tweets out. And I had my laptop open, like I've got now, with TweetDeck on. I'm just looking at the tweets, and I see the tweets from Pogba pop up, and I see the tweets from United pop on. And I was like, "That's fucking insane." And the craziest thing, I don't know if I've said this one on air. I might have said it in the original video that I did. I can't remember. I've not watched it for a bit. We sat at the top of the stairs in the Lowry. If you've ever been in the Lowry, there's a big staircase that comes up to the bar area. There's a couple of tables and chairs right at the top of the stairs as you come up, which is always a great place to sit for grabbing people as they're coming past. And then the bar sort of opens up this way. They was dominating the bar space over here. Tons of lawyers, tons of fucking contracts and stuff got signed. And then they came and stood behind Jadon. And I'm just looking at these two guys in just you know, pink button-down shirts and trousers and specs on. And one of them goes to the other, "Keep your phone on and let me know when the money drops." And I went, "Are they talking about his transfer fee? That's fucking wild." I was like, and then he said, "Yeah, no problem," whatever he was called. They shook hands and he was like, "Pleasure doing business with you." And he's like, "And you?" And I was like, that was fucking crazy.
But do you reckon though they probably just been to Nando's or something, and he was like, "Pay, you know, like Venmo me the money." And you're
how disappointing!
Oh my god, yeah.
And he's like 39 quid.
He was paying 100 quid, for Nando's, and he was like, "I've said I'll buy for everyone, so just let me know when the money drops." And you're going, "Oh my god, that's the Pogba money." I'll let you still think it's the Pogba money.
So thanks for pissing all of my chips, Loz.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. I mean, well, you've had none of those chips then, but it's that sort of thing where you see the mechanics of how it actually works and make you realise how simple or how human those sides are. I mean, that's what surprised me more recently about Donnarumma is when we went to Juventus a couple of months ago, we were filming the Conte documentary at TFR, and we were talking with a number of people behind the scenes at Juve, just sort of, you know, Juve guys who sort of had a decent idea, I feel, as to whether transfers were or weren't going to happen. And a lot of them were saying, like, they weren't saying, you know, Donnarumma's going to come to Juve, but what they were saying was in the Italian press, a lot of people are talking about Donnarumma leaving. And so this was more just, you know, we were speaking to people on AC Milan side. It was really just general football journalists at this point. The Juventus people more just helped us with getting kits for Juventus and those sort of things. Anyway, the point is, we heard about Donnarumma a couple of months ago, and then so when people were sort of saying things like, "Oh, you know, it's such a surprise that Donnarumma's going to leave," you realise what a massive marketing campaign there is against someone like him, and how AC Milan are basically trying to strong arm him into staying. We'll see. Now that the talks have been opened up, or it seems that the channels between Juventus and AC Milan are so open, I'll be interested to see what happens.
I think people would be amazed how fucking amateur football deals are that involve millions of pounds and superstars, and how it can literally be one conversation with an agent, one conversation with someone involved at a club. I know quite a few people that are involved in football clubs, and I was with one at the weekend who found out that a player that they like was out of contract, and they didn't know this. This isn't Premier League, so don't get excited. But they found out a player that they like is out of contract, and then they fucking tweeted the guy, inboxed him on Twitter, just saying, "Can we come and have a chat with you? Can you get your agent?" And that guy, by all accounts, now is on the way to that club, and you just think, that's like, I thought we had departments of scouts with whiteboards and fucking test tubes and shit, like figuring out who was available and monitoring them and all this lot, and you're like, it was on a whim.
Just one guy. So how much do you buy into that? Because actually, I mean, I totally buy into what you're saying now. I know it happens. But how much would you like it that there was more open communication in football? Because I think what you have in the NBA, what you have in other leagues in America, and I look at America as a good model because I think marketing-wise and sort of branding-wise and definitely like community-wise, they seem to have a good idea of what they're doing. There's, the open idea of player movement. Like, we've just seen massive players go from one team to another. How much would you like it if football was like that, where, say, it would be possible, it probably wouldn't happen because of the culture in England, but it would be possible that Pogba could go, and the only team he could go to would be Arsenal, Liverpool or Chelsea, but he wanted to leave.
Because of the closed nature of their sports.
Because there was some sort of
leagues.
There was some sort of thing that said, look, United have to have a wage cap, and Pogba's wages are going to take you above that, and you want 4 other players, and you decided, or Pogba's decided, I want to leave.
I don't know, because it's alien to us almost, isn't it, as football fans, to see that sort of thing. I mean, I try and get my head around the draft and how it works in American soccer, and how that hard, integrates with them bringing players in. And I think from their point of view, they don't understand the transfer fee system, because they generally wait for a contract expiry, we'll take him, bosh. More the Bosman type thing. Whereas that's rare with players under 30 in England or Europe. You don't generally see many players get to the end of their contract and just be like, yeah, I'm fucking off. It's rare, isn't it? We saw it with Lewandowski, is probably the biggest example of that recently, but aside from him, could you name 3-4 more?
I mean, probably not high-profile ones in that sense. You could probably name a few lower-profile guys. I mean, I see a point. I mean, I think...
But I don't know if that's right or wrong either. I'm just saying that's how it is.
And I agree, but I think in the next few years what we are going to see is a massive change-up in the way that players move between clubs. We're probably going to see a real shift in the way that wages work, the way that clubs choose to develop players, and also how can I put this? Clubs manage players, because I don't think we're going to see transfer fees. I think transfer fees they're going to try their best to get. It's
unsustainable as fuck. Think about how much Sky have just bid for the TV rights, billions and billions. They're not recouping that. BT did it at a loss to try and get a massive amount of subscribers in. They're not going to fucking renew at the same level that they've renewed. If BT and Sky don't or can't renew to the same level they just have, what the fuck then?
So then part of that is going to have to be that football's either going to have to trim back in some way, or they're going to have to find a different revenue stream. Now, I think part of that revenue stream is probably going to come from online, and it's going to come as a very direct form of that, because the fact is, if Sky and BT get outbid by someone online, then they really are done. I mean, done. And the rumours in London at the moment are that there are people who are willing to outbid whatever Sky or BT bid. So whatever those guys bid, they're done. And the interest from someone like the Premier League and the interest from someone on a global scale is way more for someone like, a Netflix-style form of consuming football than a sign-up sort of pay-per-view idea. So it just makes sense, really, and that's the way it's going to go. That doesn't mean that they're always going to have that funding. I also think there's going to be a change in the way that players want to get treated, and you can see that with the way that FIFA Pro are legally looking at things at the moment, and the way they're legally pushing clubs to allow more free movement of players, because they feel like a lot of clubs, even if it's not true, like, it's first world problems. Essentially, a guy trapped on a multi-million-pound contract is not the same as a guy who's trapped in a factory. But you understand what I mean? Like, the same law still applies. That these people still want to go one way or another. So there's that model as well, that those people don't want to be trapped anymore, and so there's the free movement of labour around Europe, and I think that's going to have a massive effect on the way that clubs trade, and also the way that clubs treat players. This isn't the first time I said this. Like, we say this a lot on the podcast, but it's a fascinating idea to go through because it means that clubs are going to have to treat people and treat a lot of their staff very differently, because it almost brings out a more holistic side to it.
It's not going to stay the same. I think you can absolutely be guaranteed that it isn't going to stay the same. How that changes, I don't know, because I don't want to blow smoke up the Bundesliga's ass, but they seem to do things in quite a sustainable manner. Italy, because of their recent problems, has had a lot of recent problems, but Italy's sort of got its act together, sort of got a lot more homegrown in there. That's a lot more of a, like I said, organic way of doing things. AC Milan are just throwing it around like a lottery winner at the moment. I think they've basically signed a new squad, which is unfair. When that happens, it's not nice to see, actually.
But do you think it's also because over the last few years, there's obviously been a lot of people who have also been very frustrated by the idea that actually, we've had signed players on freeze, we've had signed players we don't necessarily want, just to sustain the club at this level. Because actually there was a genuine fear that AC Milan, if they don't get this sale, are done. Like they're going to drop out of the top four, and they felt like they were going quite far behind. I think a lot of the fans were sort of saying, we're not in our natural position here. I mean, you go to that trophy room, all sorts of things.
Oh, God,
a lot of people said, well, I mean, the problem was a lot of people said, well, you have Berlusconi as a guy at your top. That's a guy who's made a deal with the devil, a lot of people say in the first place, ironically, because that's a sponsor there. The guys on the badge anyway. But there's something quite satisfying about seeing them back. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, when I was a kid, mate, it was all about Football Italia and James Richardson and watching AC Milan and Golazzo.
That was such a satisfying time in football.
Yeah.
I think for 96.
Sampdoria was amazing for some bananas reason with Lombardi, and it was all about. It was all about. Spain was dangerous. Dutch teams was dangerous. German teams were dangerous. Italian teams was the daddies at the time. Rangers had a fucking team that could come and do bits and put pressure on, and I don't like it when Spanish teams are dominating. I don't like it when English teams are dominating. I would like it if the Chinese Super League was a fucking threat to Europe. I would like it if the MLS was a threat to Europe. I would love it if Brazil and Argentina had leagues that could compete with the Premier League for players on wages. Because we kid ourselves, this is the global game. This is a game played in Europe by people from all over the world. It is not a global game. Like, I really want, one of my ambitions for this season coming is to go and catch a domestic football match in Africa. Because in my head, I think it'll be amazing. And I also want to cover AFCON next year. So I really want to go and check out a domestic football game in Africa. And I think somewhere like Morocco or somewhere like that. I see all these fucking videos from there. It looks amazing to me. The flavour of it looks sick. Like, I'm going to fucking TNS to see what the flavour's like there. It's about 90 miles away. I want to see what the flavour's like in other continents.
Wait, are you going there tonight?
No, it's Tuesday tonight, but yeah, you know what I mean?
Okay, got you. Yeah. Right.
I like that flavour. I like going and experiencing all of that different shit. Like, you've seen that pitch, I can't remember the name of it, in Norway. It's dead famous. It's on the little peninsula. It's got fish hanging up all around it. I want to go and experience football there. For me, if we're calling ourselves the global game, you can't just go, I mean, you did a real good video series with True Geordie going, checking out some of the bigger games around Europe. There's tons of people done that bucket list type shit. I don't want to do the bucket list type shit. If everyone's been there, if you know someone that's been to a ground that I'm going to, then I don't want to go there. I want to go somewhere fucking random. Like, I want to go and check out.
To be fair, you're going to need some fans to go there. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah,
I mean Brian and I have sort of been discussing that as well, because it's like, well, do we really need to go to some of these
Barcelona, Real Madrid?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, it seems a little bit played out now, but actually I don't think it's been done in the incredible detail. Like I was talking about Old Trafford earlier. I've only really seen the same couple of shots of Old Trafford a couple of times. And really, I think there's a lot more to it that hasn't really been covered. Like, I don't understand. I mean, I'd love to see you talk about, how you approach the stadium, all sorts of little details like that. But I know it takes time, it takes effort, to some extent it takes budget as well. And what you want to do is see it well done. And I think that's part of the problem at the moment is we're seeing it's very much a race for ideas, and that's great. But I don't know how many people I know who can execute those ideas as well as I'd like to see.
I was just talking to Dave, actually, as I was driving home. And one of the things I'd said to him is, we was talking about the content that we both do. A lot of it crosses over, and we was discussing about places that we want to go this season, and basically just using budget airlines to jib all over Europe, and we pretty much got somewhere nailed everywhere up until about December, waiting on the fixtures to confirm it all. But I think we've got some good places that we can go to. And I was talking to him about my Munich documentary that I did, and it did pretty shit in terms of the numbers that it got. But it's my favourite bit of content because it took me like 4 days of getting it done. From the idea to all the different... I did like 3 or 4 different edits of it. It took me a long fucking time. The subject matter's obviously brilliant. The guy doing most of the talking is my granddad, and the personal connection that he had to the lads, the Busby Babes. And it's fucking excellent. I can use it every single February on the anniversary. It's something I can bring up. But I would love to go into that sort of detail with every video that I did. If I had 3-4 days to make every single video, I'm going to make a good video at fucking TNS.
That's part of it, is actually what you want to do is have a bit of production budget behind it. You know, I think that's...
I don't even need the budget. I just need the time. I can do most of this shit myself. It's just that fucking time is the killer. There's no time. Everything needs to be turn it round, get it out, turn it round, get it out. And even this is myself, I'm making stuff and going, fucking hell, this news is 3 hours old now, I better get it out. It'd be nice to cover stuff that needs that little bit longer. That just...
Yeah, which is the challenge, I think, for a lot of people's content, because also a lot of people want fast turnaround content. I think a lot of, from a provider standpoint, we want to begin to convince clients or convince people who are buying the stuff that actually, you don't need to do it the next day. You don't need to do it when it's part of the news cycle. It's actually about the experience. And to be fair, that's what we found with Brian and I's series, Lost in Football, was that still interested. 100,000 people were interested 3 weeks after the game had happened. Not to do with the game, but to do with the fact that there was an experience there.
Yeah, you wasn't giving us the result of the game. That wasn't why you was there, was it? You was there literally for the experience of being there. So that does translate. Yeah, I mean, you can't do that everywhere. I think I'll be able to get away with uploading this one on like Saturday or something from TNS, because I don't think many people give a fuck about it, but they want to see what the stadium's like and maybe what some of the staff are like and what the whole
all sorts of things. Details.
Yeah, like 2,000 people watching a Champions League game. If it sells out, I don't even know what sort of crowds that they get.
Which it might not sell out at this point. Of course, I think every time you put Champions League with something, of course, it's probably going to sell out.